Wake up, sweetheart. Wake up, sleepyhead. This is that time of the year when we rip off Fallout box art. Colony Ship is a systems-heavy, dark sci-fi CRPG built on Unreal Engine. It's a story about life and death on humanity's second Noah's Ark, drifting through the void. On our humble Crappuga review channel, this was the Game of the Year 2023, competing against such creatures as Baldur's Gate 3. It occurred to me that we never actually played this game to completion, a flaw in our moral character I'll be fixing today. So what makes this game so special? Well, for starters, the inhabitants of the Ark have developed competing political ideologies, exactly the kind of debate that will appeal to all you new vegans out there. Secondly, the game was made by Iron Tower Studio and written by Vince D. Weller, so you can expect many quotable lines of dialogue. Another interesting feature of Colony Ship is that this is the story where Christianity plays a major role. I initially thought this would be one of the game's big selling points. It's an interesting idea, executed well. However, it seems most players chose to ignore it. Steam achievements show that only about 2% of players followed the church plotline into the late game. The CRPG audiences are godless. You ever think about Earth? It was the year of our Lord, 2754. His name was Hezekiah. Nobody knew who he was or where he came from. The Starfarer is a colony ship on a mission to a distant planet of Proxima Centauri. The journey takes centuries. We have only seen Earth in movies. Will the vessel ever reach its destination? We don't know. No one has set foot on the ship's bridge in living memory. The bridge is sealed. Why is it sealed? It's a long story. It has to do with the Starfarer's population being quite a bit lower than the original 50,000. There was a war. Born from a primordial chaos, man has always strived to impose order on the world around him. But chaos fought back. Wearing an explosives-laden vest beneath a heavy work coat, Gladys surrendered to a couple of dim-witted guards. The junior technician from Fabrication Line 5 detonated the bomb, executing over 100 Ship Authority lackeys in one righteous strike. We called them brothers and sisters once. After the revolutionaries had won, they built their own state, the Brotherhood of Liberty. But with a state came division, the haves and the have-nots. The following items were confiscated from Feldman's cell: 1 credit drive, suspected proceeds of his crimes; 1 digital notepad, locked to hide criminal activities; 1 crucifix, symbol of religious oppression. They learned that Proxima was already inhabited when the ship was well on her way. Now it's common knowledge, but back then it caused quite a stir. The early generations thought themselves pilgrims, called by God to the Promised Land. Turns out he had given it to another. Some mutineers wanted to turn the ship around, so the Ship Authority sealed the bridge to make sure this doesn't happen. The mission above all. As is often the case in dark and challenging times, many turn to God for reassurance. The Church of the Elect rejects the petty nationalism of the ship's warring states, instead framing the journey as a centuries-long test of faith. Amen, brother. It is a fool who thinks that the Lord will let us into the Promised Land before we are ready. Quite so. Well, life on the ship was about to change. Character creation basics. This screen can be overwhelming. Let's make sense of it. This here is a list of heroic feats. These are extra powerful abilities you can only take at character creation. Picking a heroic feat commits you to a certain playstyle. You can think of it as picking your class, although this is something of a simplification. Hezekiah has the Dodge This feat, which gives him fantastic accuracy and critical chance. That sounds important, and it is. The weapon he has is a submachine gun, but all weapon types are good. These are skills. Unless you know what you are doing, you should not have non-combat skills on a combat character. Your companions will handle those tasks instead. Colony Ship is a party-based game. The exception to this are the socials. Persuasion is only something the protagonist can do. The number of companions you can have depends on your charisma score. The maximum possible group size is 4. You can get there with a charisma of 6 if you are willing to take a feat after leveling up. Oh, and by the way, if you like learning skills and picking feats in a role-play environment, this video's sponsor, Boot.dev, has a thing just for you. The median salary for back-end developers in the US in 2024 was over $100,000. Curiously, programmers sometimes have the option to work remotely or from home. If you are interested, Boot.dev offers a curriculum designed to teach you how to code in an engaging, fast-paced, and addictive way. The goal is to trick your brain into learning useful skills. All content is actually free to read and watch. A paid membership simply unlocks advanced features. Go to boot.dev and use my code Warlockracy to get 25% off your entire first year on the annual plan. That's boot.dev. Welcome to the Pit, a town made from stacked shipping containers. It might not sound like much, but you have to hand it to the locals. The free town is one of a kind. The promised land the preachers speak of might be out of reach, but Jonah's establishment of the same name is right around the corner. The courthouse is a combat arena that doubles as a cornerstone of the Pit's judicial system. If you kill the prosecutor, you're innocent. If you die, you're guilty. Simple, like a legal system should be. Lord's Mercy is a daughter of a religious man who moved to the Freetown to build a cathedral. Mercy made some adjustments to her father's plan. She put together a fighting crew and transformed the church into a fortress. A few years ago, the Brotherhood, one of the bigger ship nations, made a move to annex the Pit. In response, Jonas hired Captain Braxton and his regulators, a mercenary company with ties to the Protectors of the Mission, another major ship power, and they succeeded. The town remained independent. The regulators became its police force of sorts. Braxton is now the second most important man in the Pit. The opening chapter is a build-up to a conflict between the two. Our top priority at the start of the game is to assemble our team. So let me introduce you to the cast. Faith Ward is a scav, a diver. She dives into the derelict ruins in search of ancient treasure. Faith is the brains of the group. Colony Ship's mechanics heavily favor stacking all non-combat skills onto a single character, and in our group, that character is Faith. She will master everything from biology and computers to stealth and lockpicking. Evans is a marksman with an anti-authority attitude, an effective and straightforward character, very pleasant to work with. Position, aim, fire. Jed Walker claims to have traveled the entire ship, been everywhere, done everything. For such an accomplished man, it sure is weird that he lives in a crate in a bad part of a bad town. The man is broke. He is an armored shotgun type of a character, and surprisingly mobile thanks to his feat selection. So let's talk about the basics of combat. The first rule of combat is that everything matters. Everything matters. Your build, your implants, positioning, equipment, turn your damn shield emitter on. The second rule of combat is that if an encounter is too difficult, you go away and then come back later once you are stronger. The third rule is that in order to become good at combat, you need to kill a lot of people. Skills in colony ship improve as you use them. This means that you might have to avoid speechcraft-based solutions in favor of provoking more violence. The fourth rule of combat is use consumables. Grenades are powerful offensive and defensive tools, and while they are expensive and the supply is limited, you will still find enough and earn enough money to buy a few more. The reason for the free town's existence is its close proximity to ancient ruins. This makes it a prime location for scavengers and entrepreneurs looking to profit from the remnants of a lost civilization. This story truly begins when behind a secure door we discover an artifact, perfectly preserved in a stasis field for centuries. Something like this gotta be important and expensive. We sell it and we are set for life. The problem is that nobody seems to know what the machine does. The kind of technical expertise we require is only available in the Habitat, the largest city on the Starfarer. There is a direct path to the Habitat through hydroponics, but for some reason, nobody takes it. Inside the belly of the ship, there is a garden and a laboratory to prepare the Terran plants and animals for the new world. The scavs use the technology of this place to grow food and sell it to other settlements. Can you imagine? Our oaks and maples on Proxima. I wonder how the locals would feel about that. Well, it's not like we can turn the ship around and go back now, so like it or not, they'll have to share. It would be boring to have to fight nothing but humans all the time. Lucky for us, the Starfarer is a home to carnivorous animals as well. Frogs are deceptively sophisticated. Melee frogs attack your legs. Make sure you have good leg armor. Ranged frogs poison and blind you. Psionic frogs possess crowd control abilities. Some individuals keep frogs as pets. And there are more mutated animals deeper in the jungle. Creeper is a scav word for a giant starfish. Creepers deploy a cloud of poison gas and use a grab attack that allows them to leech health from their victims. It's a complicated and resilient threat thanks to its near invulnerability to conventional attacks. What does work against them are aimed shots and energy weapon attacks. Energy weapons are a clever feature. Unlike in Fallout, you don't need to train a separate skill for energy weapons. They come in all varieties: shotguns, submachine guns, there are even melee versions. Energy weapons are deadly, rare, and expensive, and so is their ammunition. This is something you will only be using for special occasions. So the giant doors behind the creeper are sealed. The rest of hydroponics is still contaminated by lethal toxins. Looks like we'll have to find another road to Rome. This is Mission Control, once the seat of power for the Ship Authority, now a desolate ruin, mangled by old-world weapons. It's not how I pictured it. I thought it would be bigger. Nobody knows how big this place is. Even the assembly members couldn't go below level 5. On the upper level, there is a lovely little town with a diner and a hotel. Nearby, a badly scarred man is telling stories about an encounter with a giant monster they call Beelzebub, or just Old Bub. It's all absolute nonsense, of course. He probably got drunk, fell down a shaft, and told everyone that a space dragon did it. When fighting human enemies, it's a good idea to zoom in and examine their equipment. The fifth rule of combat: if you see a guy not wearing a helmet, shoot him in the head. Mindworms are a different kind of threat. They open with a debuff that lowers your action points, and then follow up with a ranged attack that, as far as I can tell, always lands. This encounter shows a more sophisticated formation. The Mindworms have solidarized with frogs, including a psionic frog. The sixth rule of combat: you can, and should, use consumables during the pre-battle positioning phase. It's smart to inject every companion with a psionic resistance drug before the fight begins. We must be truly blessed. Meet Romeo, a riot suppression robot. In this universe, owning a robot is like owning a tank. To get the machine operational, we must venture through mission control and beyond, collecting all the necessary parts. But it's worth the effort. Loyal friends are hard to find. The lower levels are blocked by an impenetrable door with a retinal scanner. Even members of the assembly didn't have the clearance. The door stayed closed for centuries, and it will remain closed until we find the key, which won't happen until roughly halfway through the game. This is another dead end. It would appear that the only viable road into the habitat runs through the factory, a deadly maze controlled by a mercenary outfit, Thy Brother's Keepers. In order to secure us a passage through the factory, we need someone powerful to owe us a favor. A man came to see me. Not Braxton, not Jonas, but me. He asked for help, but all I could do is lift his spirits. Find that man and ease his sufferings, brother. You want me to find a man with no name? The man himself might be hard to find, but the source of his problems should be easy enough to track down. In addition to being a bar and a whorehouse, the Promised Land is also the mayor's office. At one point, the scavenger Jonas Redford realized that there was more money to be made not by diving into the ancient ruins himself, but by running the town that serviced the fools who did. Credit where credit's due. This is the only place on the ship that's the right kind of insane to house an RPG combat arena. Jonah's former ally Braxton is the second most important man in the pit, but now he is thinking, perhaps I could be more. Or perhaps you could be less. Now, this is an Iron Tower game, so of course there is a hidden third side of the conflict, watching from the shadows. Lord's Mercy is more of a warlord than a priest. She is far from the perfect choice for bringing this community closer to God. But you know what they say, you go to war with the army you have. Stage 1. The battle for the Promised Land. In order to get Mercy involved, we had to pretend to ally with Braxton. It's fun to pretend. For a turn-based RPG, this can be considered a large-scale battle. Braxton will assist us by providing regulator reinforcements. These temporary allies aren't disposable. They and their consumables will carry over into Stage 2. The Whorehouse Firefight. Nice shot, Evans. Our sniper friend is showcasing Bullseye, a special attack that some rifles have. When it crits, it knocks the target to its knees, setting it up for the follow-up strike. And so the king of the Freetown is dead. We need to talk, and we don't have a lot of time. Never liked Braxton. Never liked him either. Braxton arrives with an armed escort. He saw it coming a mile away. Always knew you were a snake, Mercy, but I thought better of you, Hezekiah. A soldier in the army of Christ cannot lose. Too bad Braxton had a crisis of faith a few years back. That was close. I won. Politically, Mercy is okay with some of Jonah's ideas, but then a town's gotta have some laws, or it's not even a town, it's a wilderness. But whose laws are we gonna follow? Know that the Lord is God. It is He who made us, and we are His. Mercy wants us to travel to the habitat, visit the ship's equivalent of the Vatican, and ask the chaplain general for guidance. And also for soldiers and money. Braxton was this town's only hope. I didn't see the townsfolk lining up in his support. Townsfolk come and go. The town remains. Mercy has secured us a passage through the factory, a labyrinth of corridors and railways that serves as a crucial transport artery, connecting our part of the Starfarer to the wider reach of civilization. But merchant traffic inevitably attracts the criminal element. In response, the merchants would hire guards, but there is only so much a guard can do when an attack comes from above. Thomas Stanton of the mercenary outfit Thy Brother's Keepers figured the solution to the problem was building a network of forts, like in the Elder Scroll Oblivion, Vince D. Weller's favorite video game. A keeper named Smiles will be our escort until we reach the habitat. Just like in the Elder Scroll, some of the forts were overrun by bandits. The Keepers no longer control the toll road. Smiles doesn't join us as a permanent companion, which is unfortunate because she would fit right in. The woman is dismissive of us at first, but over time we begin to bond over our shared interest of getting combat XP. In order to gain access to the rival gang HQ, we will be using a technique called lying to idiots. Smile's idea. We are pretending to be diplomats. It's like the Trojan horse, but without the horse. Burst fire the closest asshole. Incapacitate the other one. A smoke grenade for defense. Shooters in the back are softened by a poison grenade. And of course, this is the most important part, use a stasis bomb. Stasis grenades are precious old-world miracles. Individuals or machines caught in the blast radius cannot act for 2 rounds. That's crazy powerful. We might have violated a commandment or two. The factory's problems can be solved through combat, diplomacy, or assassination. The latter is my preferred method, because this chapter has a badass stealth level. Let's talk about this turn-based sneakery system they have. First of all, it's only possible to sneak during special stealth quests. Actions in stealth generate noise. Each piece of clothing has a noise value. Ideally, you want it to be 0. It's wise to change out of your combat gear before initiating a stealth mission. The cloaking device is a game changer. And finally, like with everything else in this game, if you want to be good at sneakery, you'll have to sneak a lot. This was Stealth 101 by yours truly, Faith Ward. All roads lead to Rome, and we are finally here. We stand on the rooftop of the mega-structure that is the Habitat. Before the war, this was a sprawling amusement park. Artificial trees, red-tinted sand imitating Proxima, real grass from hydroponics. The amusement park isn't quite what it once was. The upper level was converted into a market. The Habitat itself is divided into several districts, each controlled by a different state. We should get acquainted with all three, and we'll begin with the Brotherhood, the faction that invaded our hometown some years ago. Back on Earth, there used to be a nation called the Soviet Union. The word Soviet is a transliteration of the term that simply meant advice or assembly. But over time, it came to represent something else. A similar transformation happened with the Brotherhood. Initially, this was an organization of revolutionaries and mutineers fighting for a cause. But then they won. The revolutionaries became rulers, and now the Brotherhood of Liberty is a nation, one of the superpowers, concerned with expanding its borders and controlling the media diet of its citizenry. It offers neither a brotherhood nor liberty, but what place does? You can live well here if you have enough credits to your name, like any other place then. The most well-off residents live in these apartment buildings. Everyone else has to make do with bed-sized pods. Some residents have modified their pods, adding small balconies. I love that little detail. There is a social rating system. The higher your rating, the better the quality of food you receive. I can't wait to go back to the pit when this is all over. We just got here. Next on our tour is the Protector Citadel. This is a militarist society whose purpose is to wage war on the poor bastards over there in their pods. The quality of life seems to be lower than in the Brotherhood, but about on par with the Freetown. We eventually learn that the real power in the Citadel belongs to the Executive Committee. Each committee member is a direct descendant of the original bridge officers, the mission personified. They are still fighting the ancient battle. The real show is backstage, always was. The Church of the Elect. At the heart of the church district is the massive cathedral, like a caged titan holding the weight of the ship on its shoulders. That's very poetic, Faith. They should have spent more money on living conditions instead of this. Maybe there would be no mutiny then. But the church clearly spends quite a bit on living conditions. I would describe the residential deck as modest but tasteful, and also very sparsely populated. The quests here take advantage of your conversational skills. The most broadly useful social skill in colony ships seems to be persuasion, but I chose to specialize Hezekiah in impersonation. That's the skill used for quoting the Bible. Unfortunately, this seems to be the least useful option in the game. But remember, we came to the Habitat to learn what the mysterious machine does. The church archivist has the answer. The machine is a life support system, lost during the mutiny. It will be critical to maintaining the ship's habitability as its systems continue to fail. Whoever controls the machine holds the power of life and death over everyone on board. So, who will we surrender this power to? My first thought is that we should keep it, perhaps give it to Mercy. but she's far too weak to hold it against a ship power. No, we'll have to make a very difficult choice. That's what free will is all about, son. You must choose the righteous path and walk it, no matter how steep the incline or difficult the obstacles. Only then will you be admitted into the promised land. And what happens to those who chose the wrong path? They'll stay in the ship for eternity, in this hell of their own making. So choose wisely, cargo rat. The team gathers for a Soviet. There are 3 superpowers on the Starfarer, and the consensus among our companions is that all 3 are worse. I thought the Protectors were the best option, but after seeing them firsthand, the Church seems to be the only faction that doesn't have a big delta between what is declared and what is. When we pick a patron superpower, the game provides us with a habitat companion, an elite agent of the faction, to help us and to keep an eye on us. When a man serves a higher cause, his cause, he sets aside mortal whims and does what needs to be done. This is Brother Matthias. The devil wanted your machine for his servants, but you resisted temptation. Matthias is a shotgun heavy armor trooper, not unlike Jed. Our next task is to make sure that the machine actually works. To accomplish this, we journey to the deck below to speak with the ancient monks of the ELCSS. They have worked for centuries to keep the ship from falling apart. They were once men and women from the highest echelons of the ship authority who were tempted into a bargain with the devil. In exchange for their immortal souls, they were promised life everlasting aboard the ship. But we both know, brother, that immortality is the province of the Lord and no other. Now they are things of metal and plastic, wearing human faces. They are truly damned. This individual, Eli, provides an implant overclocking service, enhancing the effect of an implant at the cost of maximum HP. This is one of the biggest reasons to even have money in colony ship. The other reason is to spend it on old world consumables. Pulse grenades damage electronics, disable force shields, and paralyze machines. There aren't many fights against machines, so burning some of these resources on hard battles like this one is perfectly fine. The House of Ecclesiasts is closed to visitors. Would you like to pray with me, brother? A humble being of flesh, tasked with the impossible in the void, will need a lot more than what Mother Nature gave him. To aid their mission of preserving the ship, the monks have rebuilt their bodies with deep space implants. They don't get sick, they don't require food. A reproductive system? What do you need that for? That sounds like a heavy burden. The Lord asks no more of any man than he can endure. Are you talking about the body or spirit? The spirit, brother. What good is a man of broken spirit, even should his physical body last centuries? The projected duration of the voyage was exceeded over 80 years ago. Ava Miller is certainly the oldest being on the ship. She wears a blue robe. For Starfarer, this is a very expressive item of clothing. The ship is failing. The house needs the machine we recovered to slow the collapse. Ava wants us to abandon the church and align with the ancient monks instead. Azrael doesn't speak. The game describes the combat cyborg's face, noting that his eye sockets are as hollow as a skull's. Remember that detail. The monks are not of the Lord. The devil speaks through them and will pay him no mind. From this stage, most of the ship is available for exploration. We can travel back to the previously visited areas and experience the consequences of our actions. The toll road has been restored in the factory. Traders and goods are flowing in both directions once again. Still alive? Do unto others before they do it unto you. The armory will serve as our base HQ as the machine is being prepared for transportation. We have more companions than there are companion slots, so some of them will hang out here. There is a suspicious door right by the machine, but it says that we don't have the correct access code. Interesting. A major character in this story is the free town of cargo containers. Its nature will change depending on our actions. The political winds have shifted, it seems. The Promised Land, the town's beloved whorehouse, is gone, replaced with the First Church of Freetown. Mercy is holding a sovet with a preacher who back in the day asked us to find a man with no name. With God's help, they are trying to govern the place the best they're able. But we can't expect God to do all the work. The town's legal system has been influenced by Jonaist, Mercyist, syncretic thought. Unfortunately, some folks would rather live in the past and drag us backwards with them. These heathens denounce God and rail against the Holy Scriptures. That is something I cannot allow. The case goes to trial. You get different courthouse battles depending on who is in charge of the town. In fact, most quests are different. It's all very clever and worth replaying. We'll have to give it a more uplifting name. New Grace. Holy Cross. I am very interested in finally learning what is behind the secure door in Mission Control. The Inner Sanctum. This is where the mission elites hid from the mutineers. We are the first people to access this place since the war. The question is, if they hid from the mutineers, how come there are dead bodies everywhere? We are not done introducing new mechanics. This is a robot charging station. If you want to use your friend Romeo in the battles on the level, you need to click on a charging station to summon it. Below the Inner Sanctum is the planetary lander. The ship Authority survived for decades. Just a few dozen people, still more than Noah had on his ark. Eventually, they had a mutiny of their own. The history is written on the walls and on the floors. A shiny armor in need of a knight. We'll make use of it, like right now. Genetically engineered to thrive in the arid dune seas of Proxima, the Sand Striker will keep our colonists safe from intruders both above and below the ground. Beelzebub is real! This thing opens with an arena-wide psionic debuff, and then it bathes us in acid. I have been baptized twice. Bring your best energy weapons for this, and bring Romeo. He is not fully upgraded yet, so the damage output is modest, but it will get better. Hezekiah slays the dragon with a burst from an energy SMG, but not before it almost eats Jed. What do you want? Old Bob is dead. I killed it. Sure you did. There are some final preparations we have to make before we... Actually, what are you doing here? I am here to facilitate delivery. Zeta 4 provides us with a last-minute option to switch allegiances to the monks. The needs of the ship supersede those of the individual. If these needs should conflict, the use of force against the individual is both necessary and justified. That sounds vaguely like a threat. I am providing additional data to assist you in improving your decision-making process. We shall engage you again at a more auspicious time. First things first, we need to fuel the machine. The only place that might have a spare fuel cell is the mutant settlement built around the Starfarer's engines. The mutants are the only ones capable of performing maintenance work this close to a malfunctioning fusion reactor. Most of the mutations are beneficial, but not all. Many residents prefer to wear face masks. It seems their standards of beauty remain human. Now, we don't have to fight the mutant queen. The fuel cell can be acquired via diplomacy or sneakery, or even by doing nothing at all. If you fail the quest, your faction will take care of it. But remember the third rule of combat. If you want to be good at combat, you have to kill a lot of people. And unfortunately for them, mutants are people. I present to you the Lawn Arena. The queen in her bubble is just a set piece. The real threat comes from this duo of armored guards, as well as a pair of energy turrets and the 2 mutant marksmen. The turrets are disabled with pulse grenades, and while the snipers are in stasis, Evans and Hezekiah take out the armored enemies. Both of us run critical strike builds, very good against armor. So that was fun. I just remembered, we have unfinished business in hydroponics. After the difficulty spike that was the heart, Vince has blessed us with an easy, relaxing dungeon. We get to explore the yellow and then the red zone of hydroponics and bully the monsters that bullied us in the early game. Remember the stupid starfish? Our art of submachine gun is so advanced now that we don't even need to resort to energy weapons anymore. What if this is our future home? Not green pastures and still waters, but this, whatever this red hell is. I couldn't disagree more. The mix of red landscape, blue oceans, and green earth-like plants will be stunning. I have seen it in a different game about a colony ship. We return to the HQ to find it under siege. The rival power has made its move. They are after the machine. The Protector's strike team is led by Cobra. She would have been our companion instead of Matthias if we sided with the mission. This is the ultimate stealth quest. The more of these elites you eliminate, the easier the subsequent battle. The variety and strategic placement of enemies make it very difficult to cheese the encounter with old-world grenades. Cobra breaks free from stasis and guns down Hezekiah. And the Protector robot unleashes its Gatling gun on Jed. Faith manages to take out Cobra, but now we are left with 2 badly wounded fighters against a mech that's still at half strength. Hezekiah is about to bleed to death, so every shot counts. That's not bad, Evans. We might have a chance. Faith has 4 rounds in her gun. 1, 2, 3, 4. The wicked decided to test our faith and resolve, only to learn that we lack neither. If we joined the Protectors, it would be the Brotherhood who would have ambushed us here. Not sure what happens if you join the monks. No more delays. We leave for the habitat now. There are shadowy figures in the darkness ahead. We knew this was coming. Here is what we're up against. Delta 9 is a marksman. Tau 6 is a cloaked melee combatant who can decapitate 3 people in a turn. Azrael is a nearly indestructible combat cyborg. The 5th rule of combat: if you see a guy not wearing a helmet, shoot him in the head. Unless it's Azrael, his skull doesn't house anything vital. I opened with a pulse bomb to disable the cloaking device. Fortunately, Azrael is still vulnerable to stasis. Jed finishes off Tau 6. One of the church commandos takes down Delta 9. Evans lands an impressive critical on Azrael, who, among other things, has the Juggernaut feat, so it's impossible to bring him down to his knees. And so it was Matthias who killed the Angel of Death. For all their power, the flaw with the cyborgs is that there are so few of them. There won't be another attack like this. I won. The machine is now secure in church hands, and our troops have taken over the maintenance deck. That's the ship's life support. But it's not all good news. We got word that our supposed friend Mercy of Freetown is now seeking an alliance with the Protectors. In response, the Chaplain General has sent a sizable force to discourage that course of action. The town gates are closed. How uncharacteristic. That you, Hezekiah? Hell of a time to come back. You are moving up in the world. I hardly recognize the scav who came to ask me to side with Braxton against Jonas. Reverend Solomon is also here, as well as an officer from the Protectors. We are honored to have you as our guest. I understand their wish to remain independent, but this is simply no longer possible. The church will soon control the entire ship, and their first action will be to sever life support to non-compliant communities. Thanks to our past choices, we built up significant goodwill with Mercy and the people of Freetown. The game keeps track of these relationships. The persuasion challenge shouldn't be too hard. If I invested in a good social. I did not. I invested in Bible quoting. Last chance, Mercy. You are choosing war. The devil has her. The legate will march on Freetown at dawn. Back in the monastery, Ava acts like nothing happened. Zeta reported that there is a locked elevator in the armory. Perhaps there is an access code somewhere in the depths of the monastery database. I was always curious what's behind this door. Emergency access to the bridge. At least that's what Ava thinks. Proxima. It was right here all along, yet nobody knew. Fuck bastards! The ship authority! If they didn't seal the bridge! How long did you know? We did not know. This outcome was likely, but not the only possibility. Deep space probes have been studying Proxima for some time. We have centuries of data. This is no Garden of Eden. The planet is sparsely populated, probably because of the hostile conditions. The native population numbers at least 3 million. While technologically unsophisticated, they appear to possess psionic abilities. A probe found curious native artwork, a monolith with a carved image of a strange new moon that appeared in the sky one day. We were seen. Ava has arrived with a cyborg escort. Secure the bridge. And so we have reached our destination. Now let's take a look at some of the endings. First, we have what could be called the adults in the room ending. It changes nothing. Ava believes that we cannot land the ship. Not yet. We need to scout the surface, collect samples, study the unknown pathogens, and develop vaccines. We must unify the ship ideologically, restore the factory, and train the colonists. It's a sensible strategy. The problem is, all of that would take, not years, generations. I'd rather die a free man on Proxima than spend another day on the ship. Same. Ending 2. Manifest Destiny. We ignore Ava's orders and manually initiate landfall from the lander beneath the inner sanctum. Once on Proxima, the lander commands sections of the ship, like the factory, to descend to the surface. None of this is as holy or dignified as the Founding Fathers imagined it, but it will have to do. These two endings are actually very similar. The main difference is that in this, we get to establish a forward colony, but life on the ship goes on. In both endings, Ava orders the mutants to land in a remote part of the planet. It seems she has a plan B. So we left Earth with 1 humanity, but we brought 3 to Proxima. As years went by, the shipborne became consumed by a new mission to spread the everlasting light of the true faith to the natives. Mercy refused to surrender. Street by street, our former home was reduced to plasma-scorched rubble. The pit becomes one of Proxima's last stand legends of courage and defiance. We let them down. But there is a yet another ending available to us. It is a fool who thinks that the Lord will let us into the promised land before we are ready. The man himself might be hard to find, but the source of his problems should be easy enough to track down. It was the year of our Lord, 2754. God sent one of his angels to prevent the sinner from ever reaching the promised land. From the bridge, we can command the ship to return to Earth. What have you done? We are going home. You are a Hezekiah, but I owe you. One last fight, then we go our separate ways. Kill them all! This is the final battle, the hardest in the game, and we'll have to prepare for it well. Hello, Romeo. Knowing that she won't have time to reload, Faith takes a high-tech pistol in each hand. Evans readies his energy sniper rifle. Jed equips Azrael's conventional shotgun in one hand and an energy shotgun in the other. So what are we facing? 2 ranged combat specialists. Zeta, the melee combatant, and Ava, armed with a powerful energy pistol. The soldier monks will always go first, and we don't have trash mobs to tank the damage anymore. To survive more than 2 turns, I equip the group with cloaking devices. Then we soften them up with a pulse grenade, and then stasis. Evans lands an amazing critical on one of the monks, and then immediately falls to a reaction shot. Faith sneaks behind the cyborg. She's not even running a combat build. We stasis Zeta again, so that we can take care of Ava undisturbed. Zeta wakes up and does 50 damage to Jed in a single turn, killing him effortlessly. Where do you think you're going? It is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. So, colony ship, a training machine for the mind. What worked? What didn't? First of all, I enjoyed various enthusiast CRPG features. The role-play system does a good job distributing decisions throughout your character's entire lifespan. Obviously, the initial choices made during the character creation are some of the most important ones, but even late in the game, you are consistently presented with a list of feats, with no single choice being obviously superior to others. Extra initiative is powerful, and so is an extra implant slot, and so is energy weapon proficiency. Moving on, I enjoyed how the game's various complex systems interact with one another. The Constitution stat determines a character's maximum health points and their capacity for cybernetics. Implants provide direct stat bonuses, but also have a secondary effect. For example, the Armored Skin implant can be upgraded with a chameleon chip to enhance stealth capabilities. That's cool. The game happens to feature one of the better RPG combat arenas. There is barely any mention of it in the video, but that's because we talked about it in detail in the Colony Ship preview video a few years back. A criticism thrown at Iron Tower's previous game, The Sensational Age of Decca, is that the big political players in that story were cynical power maxers, not interested in ideas. This made sense in universe, but choosing between a bunch of factions who believe in nothing wasn't super compelling from the player's point of view. In Colony Ship, factions have ideologies, and there is a gap between a declared idea and how it is implemented. The ideas change over time, factions adapt, make concessions, and sometimes end up somewhere very different from where they began. The player goes through a similar process with their own belief system. Finally, I liked the religious theme. It's rare to see real-life religions play a big role in role-play stories. What keeps the Starfarer from falling apart are the metal monks of the House of Ecclesiasts, and what keeps the monks from falling apart is faith. The Starfarer runs on Christianity. Colony Ship, what didn't work? One thing that was a downgrade from AOD is that death animations are really feeble now. I get it that they are probably hard to make. Nevertheless, we must return. This is a frictiony game. This means that there is a lot you need to learn about Colony Ship before you get Colony Ship. Like many CRPGs, this has accessibility issues which limit its audience. Back during the Age of Decadence times, we thought that this was just how things worked in material reality. But the success of Baldur's Gate 3 and the continuous success of Paradox products calls this line of reasoning into question. Furthermore, Colony Ship should have a paid DLC that would address the other flaw of this game. This is a party-based CRPG, but it only provides us with 3 potential companions in the first half of the adventure. We need to have more options. Say, a wandering preacher. We bond with him by quoting the Bible. The higher your impersonation skill, the stronger the bond. A scientist from hydroponics. His exposure to toxins and psionic animals made him resistant to these dangers. An ancient hermit, a being of metal, who hasn't spoken to anyone in over a century. His deep space implants are in dire need of maintenance, and this keeps him from being overpowered. $6.77. The best ship is friendship. Like and subscribe. Consider buying Colony Ship if you like roleplay, or if you like watching videos about roleplay, as videos are impossible without the games. Also, buy our merch, a training machine for the mind.